We've worked our whole lives, saved and invested just to achieve financial freedom, and been led to believe that instead of painting the perfect financial picture, everyone's plan is the same. But the truth is, no one is like you, and you deserve a financial strategy just as unique as you are. How do you navigate the complexities and volatility of a financial environment that just never sits still? And how do you find the guidance you need? Who do you trust with the wisdom to paint your financial masterpiece? You've arrived. This is the Wealth Council. Thanks so much for joining us on the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson, and we've got a lot to address today. And maybe we should start with one of the greatest threats, if not the greatest threat to your retirement. It's not fun to talk about, but we have to talk about taxes with the independent advisors from around the country who may be able to allay some of those fears. Scott Winstead out of Dallas, Texas, out of the Carolinas, Mark Henry, and Rebecca Walzer out of Tampa, Florida. Always nice to be with you, and I'm sorry we've got to talk about taxes, Rebecca. You love to talk about taxes, but there's not a lot of good news on where we are. Is there something that we need to know? I take us back to the 70s when the Revenue Act of 78 kind of created a problem that we weren't even sure we were going to deal with.
Yeah. You know, the country did, and from exactly what you say, Brad, the Revenue Act of 78 introduced the 401k provision that wasn't really mainstream until 81.
Okay.
And in 81, we really saw the beginning of a shift corporate America from defined benefit pension plans to defined contribution, which would be the 401k and eventually, subsequently, the IRA. And the issue is, in the 1980s, when this became common parlance, you know, under Reagan, we did have super high tax rates. The top active income tax rate was 50%, and the top passive income tax rate was 70% at that time. So when the 401k was pushed to the mainstream, people were like, oh, don't pay the tax now while tax rates are really high. Wait till you retire. You'll be making less. You'll be paying less. And that made sense. And in fact, I have to say that has worked for most people up until this time. However, the problem is we have an on-government record on 2008 saying that when the baby boomers retire, our middle-class tax rate's going to have to go to 63% in order to pay all the boomers, just the boomers, their Social Security and Medicare.
And we got a lot of boomers.
So this belief that this will continue indefinitely, that just because you make less, you'll pay less, that is ending as the boomers retire, and we're really going to European level taxation.
No question about it.
Yeah, I think it's so much when we talk about taxes, one of the main issues is you feel like you have no control, right? When something gets lumped into death and taxes, which you have no control over death, you feel like I have no control over this thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually one of the main things you can control in your retirement. And while we don't set the rates, we do control income in our retirement, which means indirectly we can control taxation.
No question.
And so we've got to focus on things we can control and not so much on things we can't.
Well, here's the big myth, though, is many people have a current advisor or somebody they've worked with for 20 years or whatever, and they wonder, do they need to have an update or a question mark, or do they need to think about somebody else? Well, if that firm you're working with does not help you in advanced tax planning. I'm not talking about doing your taxes in April. I'm talking about advanced tax planning, showing you how to address this for you. It's not a cookie cutter plan. They're all different. But if they're not directly speaking to you about what taxes and the impact it's going to have on your future, on your family's future, on the legacy when you leave money to your heirs, if they're not discussing that with you, in my opinion, you need a checkup. You need somebody else.
This is what your firm specializes in dealing with this, and you continue to preach. If you haven't noticed, you're in a really advantageous tax time for a lot of things to change in your plan, correct?
Yeah, I get really upset because no one likes paying taxes. So 1 penny in tax is probably too much for all of us, right? Although we do have a social contract, we do have to maintain certain things, Brad. But you know, when people tell me, and then my advisors that come all the time, they say they pay a lot of taxes. They really are looking for tax help. And you know, the most important thing we have to do right now is level set. Let's figure out their effective tax rate. If you're sub 25%, we're not in a high tax rate.
Right,
In
we're
fact,
happy.
thank you God that the highest tax tax rate right now marginally is 37, because that is way lower than it certainly has been, as we talked about in the 80s. But to Scott and Mark's point, this is exactly right. We want to deliver control. So can we come up with a multi-year plan to help reposition pre-tax qualified accounts into tax-free forever tax shelters legally, so that when the cookie jar goes from 37 to 67 to who knows, you're not only getting 30% of every single cookie you take out of that jar as you need to eat for the rest of your life, you're getting the whole cookie. And this is what people need to buy Uncle Sam out at the cheapest rates we can while we can, so that for the rest of your life, that money is yours, not yours and Uncle Sam's.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of misconception on the way taxes work. Taxes are percentages, they're not dollars. And most people throughout their working career were told, well, when you retire, you'll be making less money. And that might be true. But if you were at the upper end of one bracket and then you make less money and you're still in that same bracket, did your tax rate really go down?
Right.
Not at all.
No, it's the same percentage. Now, the dollars might have gone down, but the percentage did not. So we also have to start to reframe for folks. Taxes are percentages. They're not just dollars.
And when you think about that idea, you hear all these articles and big box firms that talk about when you retire, you should be living on 70 or 80% of what you're making. That's ridiculous to me. I kind of like my lifestyle. And when I retire, I have more time. So I don't know that I want to cut 20% of my wealth away.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I want to increase it with my spending. So this is why it's all the more important that I have an advanced tax plan, which would allow me in my early years of retirement to spend more, knowing that when I get into my 80s or 90s, even though I'm super healthy and all, but I might spend less. So I want to be able to use my money, not sit there fearfully going, oh, I can't do anything today.
Yes.
And that's where advanced tax planning allows me the freedom to do that.
Didn't you just say that so many people have been with somebody 10, 20, 30 years, and you're listening to this now and saying, you never talked to me about taxes. I mean, isn't that a constant complaint that you're seeing from people who are saying, I just listened to you.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know, and that's what's wrong. That's why the Wealth Council exists. If for nothing else, to get you to start thinking differently about your retirement decisions and take control of your retirement decisions.
And Wall Street advisors don't want to talk to you about taxes, because if you start to do something effectively to deal with them, you're actually going to reduce your accounts, and they don't want your accounts reduced because that's how they get paid. So they actually have a vested interest in you not tax strategizing your accounts.
You've been served with a notice of wisdom. Taxation on qualified accounts could be the greatest threat to your retirement dreams. Now, as we speak, they've just said it. We're in one of the most advantageous tax windows in history. You know the rules now. Time is running out for those rules that could possibly change for you. So what do you want to do with that? Call now. The number on your screen gives you a chance to get a tax understanding from the Wealth Council and a written financial plan that is just for you. Call the number on your screen. Click the QR code. Don't wait any longer. And the council returns after this.
We refinance our cars and homes when rates are low, but when rates are high, we have unique opportunities in retirement. Find out what they are when the Wealth Council returns.
Think of how much you've saved in your 401k, 403b, or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now, subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Your 2024 tax guide is free for the viewers of the Wealth Council, so call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson, and we're going to talk about refinancing at this point. And it probably isn't the conventional refinancing that you've been thinking about. We're going to do it with independent advisors from around the country. Brad Olson, Cincinnati, Ohio. Rebecca Walzer out of Tampa. Guys, when I talk about refinancing, I'm usually a car, home, thing like that. And I don't want to refinance my home, especially if I got it at a rate of 2.5 right now. You can't do anything. But cars, you always talk to me, both of you, about refinancing your retirement. I want to understand what that means, Brad.
Well, refinancing means redoing the investment or the mortgage or the loan to a more advantageous rate. That's what it means.
Okay.
So in the environment that we are in, which is significantly higher interest rates, the investment products, their companies design them to be more advantageous to the consumers. So they're better products. People can make more money in them. Now, the other part of that is to refinance your tax rate, and that's specifically the tax rate on qualified plans. Mm-hmm. So we are in the third lowest tax bracket in history, and we've got record federal debt. Mm-hmm. I think going forward, 5 years, 10 years down the road, tax rates are going to be higher. So refinance your tax rate to zero going forward by converting some of that qualified money, and then you don't have to worry about it. That's refinance.
The tax situation you talk about constantly.
Yeah.
This is a time where you say if you don't act, you're being foolish.
Yeah, well, it's really great because you have a tax lawyer and a CPA right here on this panel. So
I love that.
It's great tax advice that we're giving. And to Brad's point, that is exactly right. You know, the three lowest tax brackets in the history of America, yeah. FDR in 1930s, top rate was 25%. After FDR, we had to go all the way to Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, 1986 specifically, where our top marginal rate was 28%. And then the Trump tax revisions from 2018 that went into effect, 2017 Tax Jobs Act, was 37%. So what we still have, as much as people want to say, oh my gosh, my taxes are so high, is really truly low American tax rates. And because of our now national debt that Brad brought up, because we went through coronavirus and literally added, our federal balance sheet is $8 trillion, Federal Reserve balance sheet. And so if we have any kind of other crisis, but we already have a crisis coming, Brad, it's the retirement of the baby boomers. 99% of our baby boomers are retired by the end of 2028. And that has already, the math has already been done prior to coronavirus that basically said, if we are going to pay all the benefits that have been promised to the baby boomers, yeah. just on Social Security and Medicare alone, that the middle class tax bracket needs to go to 63%. This was a CBO analysis that was done in 2008. So what we're trying to say is, because we're always telling investors, get as much control over all of your assets as possible. Do not have the United States government as your silent partner, because frankly, the United States government as your silent partner is a partner that is sort of insolvent at this stage with the amount of debt we have and the low tax base that we have, and taxes must go up. So we really want to buy out the government for the cheapest cents on the dollar possible.
And this is why it's so important to work with an independent advisor. They can monitor the plan and build the plan for tax rates. They can build the plan for income, for volatility control, and manage it. Because like you said, tax rates are going to change. Everything changes, interest rate changes. And you need someone watching your retirement plan to come and tell you, hey, we have an opportunity here.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
I'm telling you,
we have an opportunity.
You're talking to people who is making it sound like you guys are talking like Charlie Brown's teacher. Want, because I don't want to talk about taxes at this point. And if you're avoiding it, you're making a huge mistake.
Yes.
You know, I often get a lot of people say to me, well, Rebecca, you don't know what taxes are going to do. And that's like saying, well, you know, I don't know that the car in the next lane is going to hit me unless it's directly coming right at me. At some point, before it happens, we have to make the mental calculation that the car is going to hit me, and we have to adjust lanes. And that's what's happening. We see the train coming. We see the retirement of the baby boomers on top of the COVID stimulus, on top of the world changing to the BRICS nations and moving to the east versus away from the United States and the West. We see all these things. I think at some point we need to have the internal fortitude to say, this is a gamble that I cannot afford to take. I'm going to take control, and I'm going to take it now.
Are you going to take it now? Because the time is now. Don't let it hit you. Swerve out of the lane. And that is with a written financial plan from the Wealth Council. All you have to do is call now. Can't make it any easier. But this written plan will be directed just for you. Plan now. Plan ahead while you know the rules before the rules change. make the call. Click the QR code on your screen. The Wealth Council continues after this.
Are you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466. What is the difference between an independent financial advisory firm and a financial advisor that represents a big box corporation? A corporate advisor will often use tools and products designed for and by that corporation. So when you as an investor ask them about a strategy that would work for you, they generally would offer you solutions from that corporation. An independent financial advisory firm typically provides financial advice without the same constraints faced by many of the big box firms. Because they aren't required to suggest specific financial products or companies, they often have the flexibility to provide objective and unbiased recommendations tailored to the unique financial goals and circumstances of their clients. So the one question to ask yourself is, are you corporate or are you independent? Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 for your own no-cost tailored plan with an independent financial advisor. That's 844-463-3466 to meet with an independent financial advisor of the Wealth Council.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with the Advisor Spotlight, now on Mitch Lions. Mitch Lions Wealth out of Grand Rapids area, Michigan. But you work all around the country with your firm right now, don't you?
We do, yeah. We work in a lot of markets, and we've been able to help a lot of families across the country.
I'm going to kind of go back to what you did before Mitch Lions Wealth, because there aren't a whole lot of people that get to do what you did on Sundays. This is an NFL guy as a tight end. Can I go into maybe kind of the coaching thing? Because I think there's a model that goes along with advisors right now and trying to coach that probably puts you instead very well with what you're doing now, probably all the way back to the high school days in football.
Yeah, no, I definitely had some great coaches going all the way back to high school. Played for a man that had a big, Dave Sukup, who had an incredible impact on me as a young man. Moved on to Michigan State with a full scholarship there for football, and played for George Perlis, who was a tough as nails kind of guy with a little background with the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the 70s when they were winning all their Super Bowls. So learned toughness from George and being able to overcome obstacles. Moved on, was drafted in Atlanta by Jerry Glanville, who was a wild and crazy guy.
He was a wild and crazy guy.
Learned how to have fun from Jerry more than anything. And then later on played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of come full circle from my days of hearing about the Pittsburgh Steelers with Coach Perlis, and now I was playing for Bill Cowher, who is now a Hall of Fame coach.
Man, you had some guys, and that's what it takes to move. How do you move from the NFL into what you're doing now as an advisor?
Well, I did it abruptly with a career-ending knee injury, but after that, I decided maybe, after my second blown-out knee, I decided to put my business degree to work, and figured that'd be a little easier long-term. So, made that transition, and was kind of a lone wolf for a number of years, doing my thing. And then more recently, I've built my company, Mitch Lions Wealth, and incorporated some of my kids in the business.
Oh, how great is that?
Yeah, it's awesome, and then some non-family members. But the great thing about the coaches I played with, I learned so much from them. I can transfer that in sharing with my team and helping them and helping speed them up in terms of their knowledge base and how to help folks around the country.
You left in '99, if I remember correctly, from the NFL. Things in the financial world have changed quite a bit since '99. What's different now? Why is it so important to have what was taught to you as a work ethic important now for people who are looking to retire?
Well, the biggest thing is going back to my high school coach. I always said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that is certainly true in retirement planning. And so the thing I would tell folks is you have to have a plan, and the sooner you can start developing that, the better, right? You don't want to wait till the day you're accepting the golden watch from your employer to start planning retirement, right? And so that is something we stress, and we try to catch people earlier than later, for sure.
Yeah, well, we're in an election year, and legislative risk becomes a huge thing about knowing the rules that you have now, because the rules could change. Having that plan becomes paramount.
Well, for sure, and I always tell folks that number you see on your 401k statement or your IRA statement isn't necessarily an accurate number because you have a co-owner on that plan, and it's the the IRS, and who knows what that's really going to be in the future because we don't know the future tax rates. So we have to be nimble. We have to be able to adjust our plan. And as I tell folks, hey, we're going to set a plan for you, but that's a snapshot in time, and we're going to look at it each year going forward, and we're going to kind of keep you between the rumble strips and make sure you're going down the path to a successful retirement.
I think we're lucky to have you and doing what you're doing right now, especially with the background that you have. Great to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Mitch, thanks very much. Thank you for being with us on the Wealth Council. We'll return right after this.
How's your retirement junk drawer looking? The Wealth Council has some ideas to help you clean it up. Next.
What is the difference between an independent financial advisory firm and a financial advisor that represents a big box corporation? A corporate advisor will often use tools and products designed for and by that corporation. So when you as an investor ask them about a strategy that would work for you, they generally would offer you solutions from that corporation. An independent financial advisory firm typically provides financial advice without the same constraints faced by many of the big box firms. Because they aren't required to suggest specific financial products or companies, they often have the flexibility to provide objective and unbiased recommendations tailored to the unique financial goals and circumstances of their clients. So the one question to ask yourself is, are you corporate or are you independent? Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 for your own no-cost tailored plan with an independent financial advisor. That's 844-463-3466 to meet with an independent financial advisor of the Wealth Council.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. Brad Johansson with independent advisors from around the country. Chris Bowman out of California, Mark Henry out of the Carolinas. Gentlemen, I want to address the topic of why people don't use advisors. Chris, give me a start.
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't understand how much goes into a financial plan and what comes along with a financial advisor. Everyone has puzzle pieces, right? Maybe we have a pension. Maybe we have multiple income streams, especially in California from rental homes, other types of investments. We have taxes, we have inflation, we have spending, what's our budget, what's our travel, and most people don't think that far ahead. And once you see all those pieces of the puzzle come together, and you can see year by year, we call it results in advanced planning in our office, and if you can have your plan ahead of time and see what the results would be 10 years from now, you might say, wow, I'm paying way too many taxes. How can we change that today so we don't have to address it 10 years from now?
Mark, you and I have talked about this all the time.
Sure.
Fear and shame sometimes plays a factor in why they
There's
don't.
no question about it. It's intimidating, the process. They've been led to believe by Wall Street that monthly statement they get is their plan. That's the farthest thing from a plan ever. In fact, when you open the envelope, you do it yourself, you open your envelope, it's not even correct. And people say, what do you mean it's not correct? The market's been open 3 minutes. That statement no longer represents a plan. So the idea is they're intimidated, they're afraid that it's going to be too expensive, the cost is going to be too high. And again, I understand that they're going to try to be forced to be sold something. But when you work with holistic, fee-based financial firms, a lot of times they bring to the table things that you've never thought about. And instead of being expensive, they're actually the best value on the road. They can change things. It's about opening your eyes up to what a holistic plan looks like. When you're 35, a lot of do-it-yourselfers can do fantastic. It's easy in a 12-year bull market to make money. But when you're into the distribution phase, think about that. That's that 55 to 65 when you're going to start retiring. Maybe one person retires before another, and they're going to start using the money. That's where a financial firm, a holistic financial firm, can help you make the best decisions for your money. Remember, Brad, it's your money, not the financial firms.
Don't we go to a list of negatives before we go to a list of positives all the time, Chris?
Yeah, unfortunately. But you think of it in terms of what he was speaking about. Think of it in terms of a navigation system for your car. Wouldn't you like to know if there's an accident coming up ahead and it can reroute you? It's the same thing when you meet with your financial planner and they build a plan for you. Guess what? The next time you meet with them, there's going to be something we have to navigate around or through. It's going to change.
Absolutely. It has to be flexible, Brad.
The problem is maybe for you, the worst day of your life is coming because you've suddenly realized I'm going to run out of money and I don't have anybody to help. Get a written financial plan from the Wealth Council right now. Call the number on your screen. Get a plan today. We'll be right back.
Are you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466. Going on vacation is better with a plan than without one. Taking a test is better when studying than without studying. And teamwork is better when we share ideas together. Better is just better. And having a financial plan can create better results than without having a financial plan. With a tailored financial plan, you can be in control of decisions like how much risk you take, how to reduce fees and taxes in your accounts, how and when to maximize your Social Security choices, how to make decisions regarding legacy planning for you and your family. From building wealth to securing your family's future, having a plan is better. Embrace the power of planning with a written financial plan. Call the Wealth Council to meet with your own independent financial advisor. When it comes to your financial future, why settle for less? Choose better. It's your journey, your independence, your written financial plan. Call 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
Like the rest of the chaos going on around us, the financial world's constantly changing. Each day seems to bring more questions. Is your advisor answering them for you? What's your level of confidence that you have taxes, Social Security, market volatility, and the rest of it all under control? Maybe it's time for a second opinion. Don't wait any longer. Call now. Claim your written financial plan from the Wealth Council. It's a plan that's built just for you to help answer all of those questions we struggle with. Don't settle for average. It's time to talk to someone that you can actually trust. Call or click the QR code now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brad Johansson, and until next time, it's the Council's wisdom. It's your wealth.